Hi, this is Hot Girls Build Cults, the show where we explore the art of gathering, the business of belonging, and the people creating communities worth showing up for. I'm your host, Megan Lycan, storyteller, community builder, and lifelong people connector. Each week, we talk to the people creating movements, spaces, and communities that make you say, I want in. And guess what? You're invited. Let's get into it. Welcome to Hot Girls Build Cults. Today I'm joined by Johanna, a coach and entrepreneur with over 7 years of experience in somatic therapy and trauma healing. Her work integrates nervous system regulation, shadow work, inner child work, and attachment theory to support deep transformation. She's also the creator of Becoming Secure, a membership designed to help people build self-trust and create more secure, grounded relationships. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. So happy to be in my first cult.
Thank you so much for joining me today. It's so cool. I guess like a little bit of background. I've known Johanna since I think it was 2021. I met you in Bali back when it was still COVID. The borders were still closed. It was like the glory days of being in Bali. It's a lot more crowded these days.
Yeah, it really was. We got the glory days for sure.
For sure. I think like a really great place to start is just to kind of share with us the type of coaching you do, your program, Becoming Secure, anything else going on in your business right now, and then we can kind of unpack community and all that kind of good stuff.
Sure. Okay. What's going on in my business right now is for sure my membership as my main focus. And using a podcast and a YouTube channel to sort of drive traffic towards the membership. And then I offer some one-on-one. I'm so lucky. I literally haven't advertised my one-on-one for like 2 years, but people kept being like, is there a way? Is there a way? I'm like, yeah, come in. So it's those two things, doing some one-on-one there. And actually I've been in the coaching industry for like 7 years, and I started way more in marketing. I was helping other solopreneurs build their businesses and doing business coaching for just freelance like photographers, web designers, coaches, and then hit this point where I was like, oh, this needs more personal development. So that's when I went and trained in somatic therapy, and that just opened up this amazing skill set for just like deeper inner healing work. And I became really passionate about that, and then ultimately kind of chose this niche of women healing anxious attachment. And that's where I've been hanging out mostly for the last 3 years. So that's what's going on.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really cool to watch your evolution because I think when I met you, you weren't doing this just yet, or the nervous system coaching. So yeah, it's been really, really cool to watch like your business evolve and like your focus narrow, and you really get deep with this type of attachment work and somatic healing. And I guess what led you down this path? Focusing on like relationships specifically.
Yeah, a journey close to my heart. I do remember like in my earlier, even my like mid-teens to mid-20s, basically, I felt like my life just really revolved around boys and men. Like that's what was taking up so much of my mental real estate. Like, is this relationship going to work out? Like, where is the next guy? Like I was certainly anxiously attached. And it took a lot of energy. And I then ended up seeing myself in this loop, this classic pattern of kind of like situationship after situationship, and was like, damn, this sucks, but I am the common denominator. So what am I going to do here? And I'm into personal development, so surely I can find something that can free me from this. So I hired a coach, and she was the person that first introduced me to like inner child work, to the concept that my parents have a big effect on who I am on an emotional level and on a beliefs and values level, and being able to kind of take that first bird's eye view of like, oh, I'm conditioned and maybe I want to do something about all this conditioning. So there was a few of my own years in that. And then I found my way to training in somatic therapy, not necessarily directly from that coach, but because when I was working with the entrepreneurs, I felt like I could give the woman in front of me like the perfect strategy. I'm like, just do this. And then there would be a block. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to help someone through these blocks. So maybe I need some mindset training. I don't know what it is. turns out found somatic therapy, and I was like, wow, this is incredibly powerful. So I could have went back to working with entrepreneurs, and I still do sometimes, but it ultimately led me towards, yeah, just like this more specific journey of healing anxious attachment. I knew it very well. I knew that this skill set was the thing that made a huge difference for me and how I felt in my body, in my confidence, in relationships, my standards, my boundaries, being able to ask for my needs. Like, not only did it change how I showed up in dating and the men that I was attracting, but so many other things in my life as well. And so I really feel like the journey of becoming securely attached, which is like a nervous system state, is so important for everyone just to feel better, feel like more aligned in themselves. And yeah, clearly I could go on about this, but I'll cut myself off there.
Y Yeah, no, that's like, the work that you're doing is so powerful, and it resonates super deeply with me, and I think, like, even just, like, if it's, the nervous system component, even if it's not, specifically about relationships, it's like every area of your life, like, do you feel safety in your body?
Mm.
It impacts so many different areas of your life. Um but I guess, like, maybe we could talk a little bit, like, how your offer has changed over the years, because I think maybe
Mhm.
did you start out with courses and then it kind of evolved into a community? Like
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like I've tried it all, from ebooks to like the webinar funnel to live group coaching programs to recorded courses. And the recorded course boom was like super exciting for the industry. It was this promise of you could just record this once and then like make $1 million every month off of it. And then after you've actually done that, either there was like the huge mistake of people who recorded these huge courses that could never sell because they didn't actually talk to the people first. They didn't do market research. And then these poor coaches are like pouring their love into this long program that they can never market. Or you get people through into the course, but they never finish. Like the finish rate of courses, I'm pretty sure, like statistically, is 2%, which is also so
yeah.
sad because then they're not getting the transformation. The coach isn't getting the testimonials. We're just like way too overwhelmed for that. And I think it worked a little bit around like 2020, 2021 when people were at home, they wanted to watch content, but very quickly it just like people just don't do it. And now we all have a bazillion courses in our Google Drive that we paid $99 for this bundle of 30 courses that we never looked at and had
Yep.
the best intention. So I feel like even though for sure there's still money to be made there, you can do it. I think it's just not of service really to the coach or to the clients because maybe the transaction happens, but the transformation doesn't happen. So I've always really liked live courses. But sometimes I got a little bored with like repeatedly teaching the same thing. I had this
Mm.
program once years ago called how to no, it's called Social Media Manager Accelerator. I was teaching people how to become social media managers, which was also an earlier part of my journey. It was a 6-week course. But after I taught it 3 times, I was like, oh, I kind of want to do something else. So I'm just going to like package it and sell it pre recorded. And then they would watch the videos, but come on a live call. So that was like this mini transition kind of where they still got support. They still got the live element and to meet each other. But they were watching the videos on their own. And I was realizing in that moment, like, how do professors, university professors, teach the same thing semester after semester? Like, whoa,
Right?
got way too many
Yeah.
ideas for that. But that was like the start of the evolution. And then a few years ago, when the software platform school.com came on the scene, I was like, oh, this really feels like the direction that the coaching industry is moving. People need a little more live support, I think, to actually make the transformation. People are looking for community. People are looking to connect to other people that they feel are more like-minded in whatever direction that is. And so that's when I saw that membership opportunity really blooming. Like people had certainly been talking about it for years, but now I think more people are adopting it for sure.
The course concept, like, worked in theory, and it like, yeah, it was there was a moment in time where it was great to have, like, a bingeable course, but you're right, like, it just causes so much overwhelm, and there's just, like, a
Mhm.
lot of library content just sitting there, and there's something to be said about, like, being in a live call, like, being a coach's energy among, like, other, members. I've worked with a lot of different coaches, and I've been in different memberships, and I've always been an active community member. We're looking for community in everything that we
Mm.
do. Um, when you were designing becoming secure, like what did you intentionally architect versus like what evolved naturally as you got like feedback from your community?
Mm. Mhm. Yeah, I wish I could say that there was some like really intentional architecture. I'm not sure there was. I was like, okay, my first idea is that this is actually just a content membership. So the way that I first structured it was that they would just get a new video every week. And based on what I just said, like we can already see why that became a problem because there wasn't that much interaction. It was just like, here's your new somatic practice week after week. It was a very low ticket membership at that point. It was $29 a month. And the videos also did not come out in any specific order. I was just like, what questions are people asking? What's alive? Like there was actually no A, B, C flow, which was a mistake, I would say in hindsight. Like maybe for that price, it does work that way. But then after a year of doing that, so I had like 52 weeks of content, then I switched it to have the live call component. So that's when I brought in one workshop a month and one live call a month, which was a model that I'd seen a couple other people do. And that just made sense. You know, it allowed people to actually be on video, to connect with me, to ask their questions live, to meet each other. And I would say that's worked much better. And then the last iteration that I've done, which if someone can learn something, this is where you should start with this, is that if you're going to have content in your membership, like a content library, you don't want it to be overwhelming because when I looked at it, I was like, oh, this is like a chaotic Netflix. Where do I choose? What do I start? What mood am I in? Like, I could be going this way, I could be going this way. And that causes people to leave because they think they're not using the community and the membership to its full capability. And so I restructured everything so it's in clear phases so that they even know when they could be complete with this journey. Like they could stay because the monthly workshops are always changing, or they could be like, yeah, I've actually completed something here. And I think that's really important as someone experiencing your space, whatever it is.
Yeah, the perception of value is huge. If your community members don't feel like they're utilizing all of the resources, then they start questioning maybe the price or like, should I stay? I'm not even taking advantage of most of the content. It sounds like when you went to go reorganize the content, maybe like you tweaked like the onboarding to make it clearer.
Yeah, exactly. So my initial onboarding sort of like here's where you should start thing was a 30-day challenge called 30 days to secure. And sometimes people can like amp themselves up for a 30-day push, but actually it's just not really the most supportive even on a nervous system level. And I would say to people like you don't have to do it in 30 days. Just take your time, but then it was like setting them up for like some failure, you know, they didn't do it fast enough or they're not doing it or they're not keeping up. So I was like, okay, 30 days is too much. What can I give them in 7 days so that A, they can have an experience still during their free trial, and also so that there's like just like a smaller win, basically. And it's not like a surface level the first 7 days. It goes right in, it goes right into inner child work, for example, but it's like the first little chunk. And then the second part is more foundational training. And then the third part is advanced work that I wouldn't even recommend someone start there. So then it just became way more clear. They can have an onboarding call with me now when they join. So I'm happy to like talk to every member and be like, this is actually, you know, what I think you should do based on your experience. And for me, that's worth it. If you were bringing in like 70 people a week or something, doing onboarding calls is probably not that scalable. But I'm just like happy to get to know people at this level, like in my membership and in the size, which is about 100 women right now. And that's the changes that I made. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I want to follow up with the onboarding, like the personalized onboarding call, I think is so important. I was on another uh, podcast with a woman who does like product strategy for community building. And this was like one of her things, like make onboarding like specialized and like personalized. And that's huge.
Mm.
I'm curious, how have these changes impacted the community?
I haven't had these three phases set up for very long. This is kind of like a new tweak. But what I will say is that I didn't have the 7 day free trial like active. It was just like sign up basically. You have to pay right away. And in hindsight, I don't even remember why I was so hesitant to do that because turning it on was way better. Like, obviously, if people can come in and look around and like have a little taste, that's going to be your best bet in terms of conversion, I would say. And if in that time you have a few touch points with them as the community owner where you're actually talking to them and maybe getting on a call with them, then obviously the retention is going to be higher because then if I've made a plan with someone and I'm like, okay, this is the transformation you can get, it's going to take, you know, this 3 to 6 months. I really am not trying to like lock people in there for their life or something. Depends how often they show up. Then they can understand like what their investment actually is, because memberships are generally month to month. Mine is open all the time, which is also another sort of strategic piece. Do we want our membership to be evergreen? Do we want to have cart open, cart close, which has its own benefits for sure. But just, yeah, being able to get to know that person when they come in is going to make them feel safer in the community. They're going to understand what they're doing there. They're going to understand, what they need to do, and they're going to get better results and they're going to stay longer.
Yeah. And I think that's so important with like your type of community specifically because of the type of work that you do. You know what I mean? You're addressing real human emotions. So
Yeah, exactly. And people are sharing vulnerable things like on live calls with a group of women that they don't know, or writing them in the community and their name is attached to it. So they definitely need to feel like it's safe to do that. And that's my job.
I guess kind of like in that same vein, what creates emotional stickiness in your space and what makes women stay month after month?
Hmm. Um, I think like from a strategic level, because I have my marketing brain, having changing monthly themes, I think helps people stay because they see what's coming up next and they're like, okay, maybe I'm not that excited about March, but I am excited about April. So I might as well just, stay until April because I really want to be here for that theme, and they can see June and July, etc., into the whole year. This can also help people sign up for 1 year because they can see the whole curriculum and they know what's coming up. From like a within the community experience standpoint, I think, when they feel like they get support when they come in there, when they feel like they leave feeling better every time, then of course they're going to keep wanting to come back. So a big part of my content that is like consumed on your own basically is the guided somatic practices. And I have women that are in there every single day using these guided somatic practices, and they're kind of made someone said this, not to complete but to repeat. And I was like, I love that. I'm definitely going to use that because
Yeah.
they actually are, and they do repeat them, and it helps them. They're retraining their nervous system, and it's just like a safe thing for them to go to feel better on a day to day basis, or fall asleep, or work through something depending on what's coming up for them. So I think that also helps with retention, and it's because they feel genuinely supported when they come in. They can also rely on me to get back to them within 24 hours, like my own consistency and showing up for them and encouraging them, like, please put something in the community, write to me. I'm here to help you. I'll answer you with a voice note. And then them having that feedback, I think just creates trust. And trust is also super important for any, coaching relationship. So I think those are the things that feed into them wanting to stay in the space, in
Yeah.
my space
Yeah.
anyway.
Like, how often are you surveying or collecting
So,
data, like either
mm,
like little polls or like as you're kind of creating the curriculum or like
mhm.
changing the community structure? Like, how often are you kind of tapping into that?
Yeah, I always try and like sneakily add a poll into my posts when I write something that's for the whole community, which is maybe only like 3 times a month, I would say. I don't want to overwhelm them and be like, please answer this 12-question thing, because you just lose a lot of people right away. But if I just
Yeah.
one at a time, like put a poll here and there, sometimes I would ask them like, which workshop do you want next? This year I planned the whole year already. Or I would ask them, like if they're actually wanting more guided stuff that they can go in on their own, or more live stuff. And sometimes it's really surprising. Like I can have an assumption about what I think people want and it's actually wrong. So it's a good idea to obviously be checking in with our community. Usually once a year, I do more of an annual survey and really consider obviously what they're wanting. And at the same time, sometimes it can be a bit of a trap as a coach to be like, okay, I'm just going to ask my Instagram audience what they want to hear. I'm going to ask my clients like what I should make. And we have to also trust that we know the journey as well, because when we get that type of feedback, it can send us in different directions, because there are people at different parts of the journey in your, especially in your like non-paying community, let's say your Instagram audience. And so yeah, I think there's just an opportunity to also trust yourself in that, and talk to your people and see what they're excited about.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your business. Like, it needs to continue lighting you up. Like, I used to work
Mm,
in community management for a software company, and you had to be very
mm,
careful not to just like always create something for like the squeaky wheel. You're like getting a
mm.
holistic view of like what the entire community needs. I guess as your business evolved, do you see community like now? Do you see the community as the product itself, or as support for the product?
Yeah. Okay. So you're asking if people are like actually investing for the community and that's what they're excited about versus it being like a bonus thing in the way
Yeah,
that
like, is
they
it
experience.
the community's bonus for the content, or, like, is the community the product itself?
Right. Yeah. In my world, in my community specifically, I would say the community is the support actually. And I think that's because contrary to you as the person that goes in and is like, let's meet up and let's do the homework together, I'm like kind of passive in communities, like lurking a little, will like, do my shares, but I'm not all in. And I think that I just unconsciously am like attracting women that are kind of the same, that are pretty independent, that want to figure it out for themselves, that already like getting help or joining something like this is already like, oh, I should have been able to figure it out by myself. So there's a little bit of that in my community, which I can feel. And I've been working with I created this side passion project secondary community that's called School for Coaches, and it's specifically helping coaches use the school.com platform. So there's like about 40 coaches in there, and I've been talking to them about their communities and hearing and understanding where the community is what they're there for versus, as you said, like the product and the community is a bonus. And this one girl had a very interesting sort of case study with this where she had two communities that were pretty different. One was learning how to do your own accounting properly for your business in Iceland. And one was
So specific.
like so specific. I know, amazing. We love a clear niche. And one was just like freedom, like women who want to create financial freedom in their life. And so the accountant one, she was like, there's basically no engagement in there. I don't know how to get them engaged, but my other community is so engaged. And I was like, oh, this actually makes perfect sense because the people in the accounting one, they are signed up for information. Like the
Mhm.
transformation that they want is information based. They're not masterminding with other people in there. Like it doesn't even need to be community. And that's why probably the engagement is much lower than your other one, where these women are seeking like-minded women who are trying to build an alternative lifestyle or multiple streams of income. So of course they want to connect on why that's happening. So I think when we are thinking about building community that or memberships, that's something to keep in mind. And I think also community can really be fostered as a high value part of it, as the coach or as the person creating it. Like it's really up to me to be like, this is how we operate in here. Like this is how you get to know other people. This is how, and if you onboard people that way, then I think the community can really flourish a lot more. And I see that in
Yeah.
some other communities as well.
Yeah, I think that's such a good perspective, and for anyone, like, looking to build their own community, like, are the people there to is it educational and they're looking to walk away with the education, or is the community part of the transformation process that really determines, is it worth to invest in a community? Because I think a misconception is it's super easy to create a community, like, you can just open up a
Mm.
Facebook group or WhatsApp chat, and you're like, "Community," like, it's part of my offer now. It's so much more than that, like, what was there any sort of, like, learning curve for you as you opened up a community that you learned from this
Mm,
experience?
let me think. I mean, it might be my own story around this, but the journey that like a lot of the women are coming to me from like in a heavy place, they've like just gone through a breakup or they've just kind of had their eyes open to what anxious attachment is and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is actually taking, a lot of my life." And it's like it is an inner work journey as well. So I can see that just naturally, it's maybe not the place where people are like, let's get a coffee and talk about our anxious attachment. Um, so I could probably, but haven't been like, how can I build up? You know what? Actually, I have one thing that I think has helped them connect to each other and also open up more in the community is so simple. And it's just putting people into little breakout rooms at the start of a call, especially if you have like six or more on a call, I want to say. Give them 3 minutes to talk to each other, and they all come back smiling and they all come back being like, oh, wow, like she has the same problems I do, and she's experiencing the thing that I thought I was the only one. And it just allows people to arrive, to like soften, to really open up into whatever they're going to receive in the workshop or receive in the call. So that was like not necessarily a learning curve, but obviously I'm looking for ways to make sure people have a better experience. And that's one that I think is underrated.
Yeah, I love breakout rooms, and specifically for, like, your program, it creates that safety. Everyone's like, "Oh, I'm in good community. I'm in good what's good company." That's the word
Company.
I was I'm in
Mhm.
good company, you know? Now I can ask
Mhm.
that, like, tough question that might be a little stressful or a little bit embarrassing or, like, you can be more vulnerable now that you've kind of met the group and understood that they're having a shared experience.
Yeah, I think that's like a good highlight line. Like people need to understand they're having a shared experience to be able to be more open and feel safe to share.
Yeah, yeah. I guess we can kind of shift gears a little bit and just kind of talk about maybe the coaching industry at whole. I know that you've started talking a little bit more about community. I guess for course creators thinking about building community, like what do you think they should consider before making the leap?
Mm. I guess the first part is just like weaving in a live component. So I think that that first natural transition is like the course with live calls. Maybe they already have that, but if they don't, then definitely that would be a good first step because what's probably happening is people are like getting stuck in not doing the content. But if they can come be in your energy and your leadership and your excitement about the course that they're supposed to be going through, they're way more likely to like get back in there and actually get it done basically.
Yeah.
Um, and then and then adding a community component when you want to actually create connections for people, like also being really clear on what your goal is, what your intention is with adding this. Um, just making it as like something to justify raising your price or another income stream, it's probably not going to be enough. Like you have to decide what happens here, what's the culture of your community. And then I had one other thought coming to mind about this. The platform that you're going to put it on, because yeah, as a user of being in different communities, I found that some of them are just so like I just don't do it. I just don't open it. It feels like too far of a
Right?
different app
Yeah.
that I'm just like I'm never going in there and it's just crickets in there from everyone and I'm sure it has to do with like a user experience and that is one reason why I really like School because the design is super simple. It kind of looks like a Facebook group so like somewhere in our consciousness we're like I know how to use this because I've seen this
Yeah.
layout before. Um School's own community, like the Schoolers, I think it's called, is crazy hyped up. And, I haven't spent too much time being like, why is that community thriving so much? But it's crazy. And just their user experience is very good. Their app is really good. And so I think that makes a big difference in how much engagement you get from your community because if they're never going to go into the app or to this random website that looks ugly and that's confusing to follow the threads, then it's dead before it can even start. And that's just a shame.
Yeah. Have you tried out any other platforms?
Yeah, I don't know if I said Kajabi already, but definitely been part of a few Kajabi communities. And Circle is another one that I was just like, it looks kind of nice, but I just couldn't get into it personally. I know lots of people use it, so there must be something about it. I've been in Slack communities, which if you're already using Slack for your business and for other teams and stuff, then maybe that one would be a little bit more seamless. But if you've never used Slack before, then uh, I don't know. It's just like a little businessy, maybe a little clunky. Um, those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head, and School outranks them all for me.
Yeah. I'm on a couple communities on School. I think I have
Mhm,
one community or membership. I kind of use membership and community interchangeable for a lot of these
mhm,
discussions, but there's a membership I'm on Circle. But it's funny, like a few years ago when I was working as a community manager in the tech space, like we were kind of testing different community spaces. At the time, it was between Slack and Discord, and we just
mhm,
noticed such a huge difference between like how the community showed up. Discord, you
mhm,
could have your user handle versus like Slack, you use like your professional name, and like Slack
mhm,
was so dry, it was so professional. But then like,
mm.
Discord was like meme and GIF city, and like it was just a lot more fun there.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so interesting because when I think of Discord, I'm like, "Oh, it feels really techy and, like, codey or something," and I don't
Yeah,
understand it, but because you're
yeah.
in tech with all these tech people, of course, they were, like, having fun.
Yeah, it was all the tech bros who were also gamers. So they were super comfortable on Discord, and yeah, I like
Mm,
Discord. Speaking of
yeah,
like
also
tools that I've seen like evolve in the coaching space, what was the one that was like kind of like a walkie-talkie? A lot of coaches
oh,
used it for a
Voxer,
little. I hate Voxer. I
right? The
never
audio quality, just why?
like couldn't do anything. You couldn't like create like a threaded chat. There was like no like
Mm.
emojis. There was a lot of things that just felt very limiting. I was like, I cannot express myself on Voxer, and I
Mhm.
hate it.
I think the problem was that coaches wanted a way to voice note their clients that wasn't in their personal WhatsApp or their iMessages or whatever, and Boxer kind of solved that problem, but in a really weird, like, as you said, like, walkie-talkie way where it sounded like you're talking, like, and walking on leaves at the same time, walking on dry leaves. I think, like, Telegram is maybe one that people use now.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but yeah, I think people move to Telegram. I just wanted to the software piece and like where people are hosting their communities, at Kajabi, Circle, School. I also feel like in terms of cost, School is super effective. They like recently created this $9 a month hobby plan, which can take you far, I think, as a coach. It
Yeah.
really depends how sophisticated the rest of your business is. And School doesn't quite do it all in terms of like different checkout pages and coupon codes and stuff yet, but I feel like they're so committed to their community and what the community needs. And yeah, what I see as like a hurdle for newer coaches, and I'm not exactly sure who's in your audience, is like these software costs can just add up so quickly when you're paying for, yeah, a course hosting thing or an email marketing thing, and then random, like you're paying for ChatGPT maybe, and you're paying for, I don't know, Midjourney and Canva and all these things.
Yeah.
So when you're trying to decide on maybe where to host a community. And if it's where you're starting, you want to also think about like, okay, what elements does my business need in terms of software before I choose my software stack? Because what's really annoying is being 3 years into your business and wanting to move everything off Kajabi and
Sounds like
move
that
everything
comes from
on.
personal experience.
Yes, twice. Oh my gosh, like a migration takes so long when you have a million courses and email lists and people tagged and yeah, I know that's like a
Yeah.
businessy admin thing, but just
No,
something
but
to
it's an
consider
important
before.
detail, and, like, it's cool because I know that, like, School allows you to host your content as well, but I'm curious actually from your
Mhm.
perspective, like, as a coach, you know, if you wanna start a community, do you think you have to have a course already, or do you think you could start a community
Yeah,
without
definitely not,
content?
definitely not. Sometimes as I said about that course problem is, like, the biggest problem people make is they feel like they need to record all this stuff before they've even sold it to everyone, and then it's not quite the thing, like, it's not actually quite what their members or what their community is looking for or what their audience is looking for rather, and so, no, I would say, something that I really love as a strategy for building out a new membership is basically tiered pricing. So, like, your first 10 members are free for life, and then your next 10 members are $29 a month. And then your next 10 members are $50 a month until whatever, until you hit your
Mhm.
like where you kind of want to land it. And that allows you to basically have a blank space and have people be like, well, I'm just paying because there's a call coming up, there's a workshop coming up. And then after you've done 3 months of workshops, now you already have three 60-minute or 90-minute recordings, which is already so much content for a new person to be like, okay, when in the next months am I going to watch like four
Yeah.
hours of content already? No one wants 25 hours of content. That's like not what they want. They want the smallest amount of content to make the transformation that they want and probably to meet people that are doing the same thing. So it's like not necessarily doing anyone a lot of service to give them hours and hours of video anyway.
Have you noticed, like, if there's been any, like, a sweet spot for, like, number of calls per month, like, people are looking for that's really supportive, or
Hmm.
I get a lot
I
of
think
mixed
it
reviews on this.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what the community is for. So for example, I coach in another program that's called the Digital Nomad Life Academy, and it's for people who are wanting to become digital nomads and build their own business. And I'm just like a guest coach in there. But I think there's like, I want to say like 9 or 10 calls a month in there.
Wow.
And at least I think there's 6 Q&A calls, which are usually full, like the hour is full with people's questions. And then there's like a workshop and maybe a guest teaching a workshop. And I think because people are actually really in a building phase and they're discovering business for the first time, they have lots of questions, like that's required. In
Yeah.
mine, as I said, there's 2 Q&As in a workshop, and the Q&As are two is even enough. Also just because of where my members are and the time zones and stuff. So I think it really depends what the offer is, what people are going through basically, and yeah, that's why it depends. That's why it's mixed.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. And yeah, the digital nomad one, you would need more because you're like, I'm getting ready to like quit my job and I gotta start my own thing. And Like I'm figuring it out,
Mhm.
and yeah,
Mhm.
there's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, I think there too there's a lot of, like, new skill building happening, and so when
Mhm.
you're doing that and when there's, like, your financial wellness on the line, people don't wanna make mistakes, and they don't wanna spend their time in the wrong place, so there's just a little bit more, like yeah, they just need more support and more guidance, and it makes sense, and
Yeah, there's
happy
more
to
of
do it.
sense of urgency, and so you want all of
Mm,
the additional time.
yeah.
What about, like, are there any coaching or business models that you think are just completely becoming outdated?
I mean, first thing that comes to mind is just, like, extortional pricing, that's not quite the word, but, like, I'm happy that the consumer has become a little more educated in terms of, like, unfortunately, I feel like in 2020 or those years around COVID, people paid big money to be in programs, and
Yeah,
then they weren't really being held. There were, like, really fluffy programs where they're like, "What the heck even just happened here?" Like, so this like the thing about the coaching industry is it's not regulated like the psychology industry, for example, and there's pros and cons to that. And because it's not regulated, it needs to go through its own like chaotic experience to settle itself out. And I think what's good about that is that coaches who are in integrity and trained are going to rise, and they're going to have successful businesses, and they're going to have way more longevity in their business because they actually are offering something. And other people that are just like coaching based on one life experience that they had, and not being able like that, you just can't copy and paste that to everyone. It's sort of falling away. So I think that the market is going to have a little bit more pressure on coaches that are like actually not educated, but maybe trained in something, or at least able to create a transformation and hold a safe space. So that's
yeah,
for sure shifting. And then yeah, these like super crazy high priced things I think are kind of falling away as
yeah.
well.
I'm definitely a victim of way overpaying for a course. Like, a few years ago, like, a really well-known coach.
Mhm.
I'm just gonna say, 'cause I don't think she's ever gonna hear my podcast, but, Catherine Zenkina, the she's a huge coach, and she came up with one that was, like, about, like, money mindset, and I thought it was a course, and it
Hey.
was positioned as a course, and it was literally like a podcast, and I paid, like, $1,500 for, like, 10 episodes. Like, I
Mm,
never once saw her, and I was like, "What the f what the fuck
I
is this?"
know, the audacity. The audacity.
I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, I know that, like, you're a big deal, and I mean, I still follow her, but I was really annoyed. I was like, "Wow, I really
Hmm.
just flushed my money down the toilet."
Yes, and I see, like, all these, like, twisted ways that people kinda, like, distort their mind to, like, justify that, where, like, "Oh, if they just, like, sell 1 client, they're gonna make their money back if they" like, I see why people get into that, but I've also now seen the coaches who are backpedaling from that. So,
Yeah,
at some point, I feel like morality or catching up with like reality or thinking about your ecosystem and becoming accessible in your work catches up, and then people like it's maturing, as you said, like the market
yeah.
will force the industry to mature, and it's going to happen, so
We're demanding
it's
more.
good.
If you're promising transformation, then I wanna know, like, that you have training and that you can support this transformation, and yeah, you can't just be like, use a Canva template and, record a couple videos and be like, "Here, this is" you know?
Yeah, yeah, the, like, do exactly what I did rarely works for people because they're operating with their own different conditioning and nervous systems and trauma, and, like, just do what I did. It's maybe it will work for a small percent, and then obviously that small percent are the testimonials people use, and they're like, "Here are these, like, amazing results that I get from 1 out of 1,000 people that I worked with," and it's okay.
Yeah.
It will grow up.
Let's see. I think we kind of covered this, but maybe we can address it from a slightly different angle if there's anything left to cover here. What do you think
Mhm.
our coaches are still getting wrong about building connection and transformation?
Um, hmm. What do I think they're still getting wrong? Mm, I think connection and transformation are kind of two different questions, maybe here,
Yeah.
or like the way that my
Yeah.
mind is seeing it. So,
I feel like,
in
one, it's
terms
not
of
the same.
building, yeah,
First, let's
yeah,
start there.
there's a mistake. I mean, in terms of connection, what comes back to me is like it's our job to really orient people to our own spaces, and This is a lesson that I've learned for sure. Like, how clear am I really being about what the boundaries of this container are and what the rules, like not in like a don't break this rule, I'm going to kick you out way, but just in like, this is how you show up. This is how you take responsibility for getting the best experience. Because depending on the level of support that I can give someone, they obviously need to show up more. Like if I'm one on one with someone and they also have my WhatsApp number, I can really hold their hand. We're going to get there. But if it's a lower investment thing, people do have to be ready to be more self-responsible, but it's my job to prepare them for how they need to show up. So I guess that speaks to the transformation. And then in terms of connection within a membership, it's the same thing. Like, how can I encourage people um to feel safe enough to show up? And like, how does that even look? Because sometimes people are just so like, can I ask this question? Can I do this? Would that be weird? And so if I can normalize that, whatever that is for me, then I think that's going to help build the connection. And one thing, for example, is like everyone in their community says, when you join, introduce yourself, right? Like there's some way that they're doing that, whether it's in one thread or whatever. And a while ago, I changed my thing to be like, and after you introduce yourself, comment on whoever introduced themselves before you. And it's just so
Yeah.
easy. But then they've
Mhm.
obviously read one other person's introduction, so they feel connected to them. Maybe they read two or three, they comment, that person gets a notification. They're like, oh my God, this like sweet girl just like said hello to me. It's just like simple, but
Yeah.
we have to give the people the opportunities because not everyone is like you, Megan, who's like, I want to be friends. Like I would love that. Every community owner would love that. But sometimes we need to be like, it's safe to go play. So this is how you do that.
Yeah. So it sounds like, yeah, like also just learning to be a good facilitator in your community is a skill set you should have as you're building one.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes the longer you've been in or like the farther away you get from maybe whatever you're teaching being your transformation, it can be hard to remember how whatever that first experience was. And so we have to. That's why we check in and talk to our people and do surveys like you said and serve.
And serve.
um, yeah, and it allows us to just like stay in touch with our reality. And I think that's also where courses really miss the mark. Like you're not connecting to the people, you're not connected to their reality, their experience, their struggle, their transformation, and that's why that's sort of like dying as a standalone thing.
Yeah. I think that actually I've covered all of the questions I had prepared. I'm curious if there's like anything else you're just wanting to talk about, like about community, about memberships, about
Hmm. I don't know. I feel like we've been all around the
we
amusement
have been all
park
around.
of this topic. Um, No, I think that feels pretty complete. I mean, if you I'd be curious who you feel is in your audience. Like, are they seasoned coaches that are thinking about starting this? Are they into communities wanting to improve their community? Who's your vision of who hears
Yeah.
these podcasts?
That's a good question. I as a fellow podcaster, how do you get feedback from your audience? Because I'm just getting
Mm,
started, and so far I've it's been wider than narrow. I've just been talking to different
mhm,
community builders, and some of them are creators, some of them are building software for communities. So right now it's kind of
mm.
wide, but my audience, I have no idea.
Mm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, based on what I've seen, I feel like who it makes sense to listen to this is someone that wants to build or improve community. Obviously, hear other people's ideas, what they're doing, and some really good advice I got from a coach recently was if you are like I think she was framed as like if you're struggling in your business in your industry, look parallel. Like look for what people are doing in something that's parallel to your business. So, for example, if someone's building software for communities and I know what's gotten like millions of dollars of funding, then I'm like, oh, that's a hint to where someone else thinks that this is going, in terms of what community looks like in the future and how the softwares will work and how the connection could work. So, not exactly sure why why I got there, but just a little thing that
No,
and
no,
oh,
that's
you said like
great advice.
as a fellow podcaster, how do I know who's listening? Yeah, and I'm like asking people, I'm like, please message me on Instagram. Like, I want to talk to you. I want to know who you are.
Y-
And that's another example where people just need like the invitation, and they need to know that it's like cool to message me. And I'm not like, I don't know. I think sometimes when we hear someone on a podcast, we're like, oh, they must be really important because they have a podcast. You know, you're very important, so am I, but, like, anyone
Yeah,
can just start a
yeah.
podcast. So, yeah, I just really invite people to connect with me on Instagram. On Spotify now, they've made it so easy to leave a comment under the episode, so it's way easier to get engagement in that way. So yeah, just like little call to actions of what resonated with you, what did you like about this? Like, do you have a question about something? Yeah, obviously it's 95% lurkers, I feel like, in podcasts, because it hasn't been built as a community. It's like built as a one-way
Like a
channel. So
social
it takes
platform, yeah.
exactly. It's not built as a social platform. So it's like, yeah, this one-way thing. So it takes a little bit more, but it will come and yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need to encourage people to leave comments, like, on Spotify, because that's the same advice someone else gave me. I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll,
Mhm.
like, drop a survey," and they're like, "I don't think they'd do a survey through Spotify." Like, just ask them to, like, leave some comments there. That's a great
Mhm.
place to start getting feedback because, like, right now, you're right, I mean, like, my intended audience is community builders or people wanting to build community and just because it's such
Mhm.
a big topic. So, generally, I was just speaking about who I've been sitting down with, but yeah. I guess as we kind of wrap things up, if you could just share a little bit about like what's the best way to work with you. Let's go into that.
Mhm, mhm. Well, if healing attachment feels alive for you, for the person listening, then definitely you're invited to come check out Becoming Secure. As I mentioned, there's a 7-day free trial, so there's literally no risk. Just check it out, suss the vibe, and you'll know if that's going to be supportive for you. I'm on Instagram. My Instagram handle is a little bit tricky and annoying to spell. It's basically Johanna Maria. I trust that Megan can maybe put it in the show notes or the description. And yeah, I'd just love to get in conversation about anything. I mean, I've been in the business coaching world as well. And sometimes I'm like doing that in the background. I don't market it too much, but I love talking to people about their business and coaching specifically. I'm really passionate about this industry and like integrity in the industry and success in the industry and success for coaches. So that's what excites me. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the
Did you
main
say that
plug.
you also had a community like the sole focus is on school?
Yeah, exactly. So this is like the most meta thing. I was really rolling my eyes at myself when I decided to make this, but it's called School for Coaches. So it's teaching coaches how to use school on school. I'm coaching coaches how to use school on school, and that makes me
But
want
it's
to roll my
needed.
eyes. But it is needed, exactly. And I think there's an opportunity. As I said, it's a free group. I literally just made a how to set up your school community course. That's actually the logistics, like press this button. This is what this setting does, but also the strategy, like how are you going to price your community? What's your offer going to be? Kind of like these questions that you were asking me. Do you put content ahead of time? Do you have live calls? Da, da, da. And it's free because I'm just like actually really excited about school for coaches.
Yeah. That shows
So
that yeah,
that's an
you're
easy one.
genuinely passionate about like the business strategy as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and put down yeah, your Instagram, everything in the show notes and then also for the audience like Johanna has a really great podcast herself called Healing Anxious Attachment, like, and
Mhm.
it's something that I listen to on a regular basis on my walk. So that's also a really
I'm so
great
glad.
place to start, just to get to know like your teaching style and like
Mm,
the type of content that you can also find within your membership. And yeah,
love it.
throwing that
I'm
as
so
out
glad.
there as well.
Okay, it's all
Well,
there.
thank you so much. It's been so great sitting down with you today.
Thank you. Yes, thanks for having me. It was fun. Love to chat about this stuff. And yeah, congrats on the podcast launch and may it prosper and may everyone who needs to find this find it.
I'm having so much fun. I'm so glad that I started it. I used to, well, I still do have a performance anxiety, or like I've always struggled with public speaking. So like
Mm,
a podcasting format is perfect for my use case because anything that I fuck up, I can just edit out.
love it. Well, I feel like you're thriving and
Yeah,
yeah, you make it look easy.
thank you. If this conversation lit something up in you, that's your sign. Share the episode, start the conversation, build the thing. And if you're creating community, hosting gatherings, or building spaces people actually care about, I want to meet you. I'm Megan Lycan, and this is Hot Girls Build Cults.